Welcome once again to the show Extreme Carolina. On the show, we'll be asking leaders to share their key talents and strengths on how they manage to consistently operate in their genius zones. Today, we are talking to one of our unsung heroes of Clay County, Mr. Paul Leek, our Clay County manager. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we're going to get right to it because we know you're a busy man. So we'll just get right at it and let the folks know what you're doing, what you're all about. All right. So first question right off the bat, sir, would be what is the number one priority as the Clay County manager? What would that be?
The number one priority for Clay County right now would be economic development, growth. How can we continue to grow, bring people into our county, and help our county be successful?
Awesome. That's probably a pretty good sized job of doing that in a lot of areas because of the amount of departments that you're responsible for.
Well, it is. One thing a lot of people don't realize or they forget, local government is here to provide services. Mm-hmm. Our main job is to provide services to the citizens of our county. Okay. EMS services, sheriff protection services, health department services, social work services. Those are services that our citizens pay tax dollars to get, and that's what we need to do is provide those services.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let me ask you then, how do you go about balancing real-world Clay County needs against legislative mandates handed down by Raleigh and Washington?
That is, I don't know if you could ever manage that fully. You do the best that you can. Mm-hmm. A lot of the mandates that come down from Raleigh, of course, are not funded.
Okay.
So you're having to do things and with your tax dollars. Mm-hmm. And so that makes it very challenging. And one good thing about Clay County that I'm proud of is that we have excellent employees that work for the county. They are there because they want to work for the county, mm-hmm. and they want to help Clay County. So any of these fund mandates that come down, we're going to implement them to the best of our ability, and we're going to do them right.
Awesome. And with your background, you said that about the employees, with your background being in HR, I noticed that in the bio that you sent over. You've got quite a few years of managing people, quite a bit of them from what I understand. So that would lead to sifting through and getting the best people to do the jobs.
I hope so.
Well, cool. Well, I tell you what, based on that, the answer to the mandate question, that's probably one of the reasons that you've been in office for as long as you have, because I noticed you've been there for about 13 years in this position.
Right. I'm going on. It'll be 14 years in January.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, let me ask you, what do you find to be the most challenging part of your job?
The most challenging, of course, will be money. There's never enough funding to go around to do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. So you have to prioritize and say, this is the amount of money that we have. Mm-hmm. What are the necessities? What do we have to do? And it's kind of, you can't do everything you want to do, but you have to do what you need to do. And if money was not an object, we would be able to do everything. And unfortunately, money is an object.
I got you. Well, again, folks, we're here on Extreme Carolina with Paul Leek, county manager, and discussing with him the real world issues of his job of trying to spread that money around all those different departments. And that's got to be a tough job of trying to balance who gets what, because everybody's saying, hey, we need, can you, last time they got it, when are we going to get it? I'm sure you hear a lot of that as well. But anyway, let me ask you this. What do you attribute your success to in your position of balancing that? What do you attribute that to?
I'm going to attribute to, again, go back to my county employees, my department heads. My job as a county manager, I'm only as good as my departments are.
Awesome.
And so I put faith and trust in our department heads, and they do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very proud of them, and I'm honored to have them working for our county.
Awesome. That's a great answer. You know, the department heads who leads their departments, but there again, you said that you're only as good as your department heads. Well, but they're only as good as the leadership, and the leadership has to, not just mandate, but you have to have interaction as well as accountability factor in that. And I'm assuming you do.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, see that in being in a business myself, so I know that is so important to make not to make folks feel that they want to be able to be there, but if you have accountability and that type of thing, that really helps with your job of making it a whole lot more easier. And that's great doing that. Well, I'll tell you what, that brings me to a really, really interesting question that I like to ask the guest on the show here. And if you could, Paul, if you don't mind me calling you Paul, if you could mentor your younger self, what advice and success principles would you impart?
Oh,
gotcha.
yeah. My younger self, what advice would I dealing with the public? I would have to say you need to be very compassionate. You need to be very sympathetic and understanding. A lot of people have issues, and they come to me because they have those issues.
Mm-hmm.
And just because they're not important to me, they are so important to those individuals.
Okay.
So that's where I would say a younger me that you need to be more compassionate. You need to be more understanding. You need to be more sympathetic. You never know what goes on behind someone else's closed door. So when they come into you, sometimes they just want someone to listen to them and be sympathetic and understand, and just be a sounding board. And I think that's a younger me would benefit from that.
Awesome. That's a good answer on that. We don't think of that, when we're younger, because
No.
we're like we're indestructible. Nothing can touch me. You can't handle me, and that tends to fade. The older we get, we get to realize that. So that's why we like to ask that question of what would you reach back and tell your younger self? So patience is a big virtue, you think, in your job
Absolutely.
right now? That you think a lot of your managers, they have that now, or your department heads, as it would be?
I think they do. And again, I cannot say enough about the department heads. And you mentioned something else too about the leadership. I, as a county manager, I have commissioners that are my bosses. And
Okay.
those 5 commissioners that we have now are the leaders of the county.
Mm-hmm.
They're elected by the citizens to make decisions for the county. So what I do is based on what the commissioners are asking us to do.
Got it.
So we are fortunate to have 5 good leaders right now leading the county.
Okay. So, and the city falls under that.
The city is not part of their leadership. The city has town councils and a
Okay.
mayor that is elected.
Aha. Okay.
So they are part of the county, but they are regulated by their own elected officials.
Oh, okay. So they got their own city manager.
They have a mayor.
Okay. And he does that. All right.
Correct.
Okay. And they've got their commissioners as well. And, okay. Well, I tell you what, Paul, that is a great, great answer to that part. I want to find out a little bit more on the other side here. We got a break coming up about the how many departments that you have. I mean, it's probably gazillion of them as well as employees. But I tell you what we'll do is that I'll ask you that and a couple other questions coming back up. But we're going to jump right here now and take a break. And we just want everyone to stay tuned as Extreme Carolina will have Mr. Paul Leek on the other side of the break. Thank you all for joining in. All right. Here we go. We're back with Extreme Carolina. What we are is a show that hosts leaders and impact individuals in Clay and Cherokee counties, hence the name Extreme Carolina. And I'm so excited to be the host of this show. We're new and we're just excited. And today we have with us the county manager, Mr. Paul Leek. And he has a huge, huge job under his belt. He's been in this particular job for over 13 plus years. And we'll ask him a little bit about that in just a minute. But for now, let's get back into what we were talking about in terms of your department and what you actually run. So you mentioned about having to disperse money around. Now, speaking of money, what size budget you're working with there for the county?
Our annual budget is about $17 million.
Okay. That's a good number.
It's for a small county, that's a large amount of money.
For a small, so Clay County is not that big of a county in terms of having to need 17 million. All right, you said you got a budget of 17 million.
Correct.
And that's a big amount of money or a small amount of money for the size of the county?
It's an average size, but when you look at the population of the county, it's 10,500 people. That's a lot of money for a small county. But in comparison to other counties our size, we're average.
Okay.
And if you look at the $17 million budget, over 50% of that budget on the revenue is made up of property taxes.
Ah, okay. So we got to keep paying our taxes.
Correct. The taxes are very, very important.
No wonder they. Well, I'm not going to say that. I almost said a bad word there. But anyways, so your departments, and you have on your department the sheriff department, the EMS, and just to give us a quick little list of, not the whole list, but your major departments that you have that you oversee in terms of the funding.
The major departments, of course, will be, like you just mentioned, the sheriff's office, EMS, that's your public safety. And then we have our health department. We have our social services department. We have the finance department. We have board of elections, transfer station, senior center, rec department, just to name a few.
Ah, that rec department, is that the one down there behind the post office near the field, the pickleball park?
Yes, we have baseball, softball fields, pickleball courts, indoor basketball, and fitness rooms.
That's a nice facility.
Thank you.
How old is that facility? It's not that old, is it?
It was constructed in 2000.
Okay, so it is.
The ball fields were. The indoor facility was constructed in 2007.
Okay. Awesome. Now, as I know it to be, is that for Clay County citizens? Do they have to pay a fee to go and use that facility, the gym and stuff of that nature?
No, there is no fee to use that facility.
Wow. That's a pretty good deal. I guess there's tax dollars at work again. I mean, if you can go and work it off if you if you're totally upset there. And you said about the sheriff's office and the health department, and so you supervise the daily function of just all these county services that we just named off.
Not necessarily supervise. The sheriff, his department, he's an elected official, and what the county his staff are considered county employees, but they answer to the sheriff because he is an elected official. What the county does in the sheriff's department is basically fund his appropriations to run his department, but he handles the hiring, the firing, and the daily administration of his department.
Oh, okay. All right. So they actually run it.
Correct.
And okay. So you don't have, you just make sure the funds are there or as much as it could be.
Right. But we do have a good rapport with the sheriff's office that we work together. Like when there is issues, he comes to us and we work together to come up with solutions.
Would that be the biggest department you would say that's under your preview of the county? Is there a bigger one?
The sheriff would probably be the biggest department, because not only is it the sheriff's department, but under his discretion falls the jail and 911 communications. Those are his 3 areas of administration.
Got it. Okay. Well, then that would be because the health department wouldn't be that big.
The health department is probably our second biggest.
Aha. Okay. Now, in that new facility that's over there up on the hill, all of those are lined up in the same area in terms of the jail, the sheriff department, health department. Is that all together in one area?
It's our governmental complex. We have our EMS. We have our social services building. We have our courthouse there, which houses our tax office and our register of deeds.
Okay.
And then we have the jail and the sheriff's office there. And then we have our health department there. And then we have our public transportation department there. So we have probably 90% of our county offices are on that complex.
Wow. Okay. That's a nice complex right there as well. How long that complex been in that location?
We moved into the courthouse in 2007.
Okay.
And then the EMS building was built at that same time. And then the next year we had the jail constructed. And then the year after that, the sheriff's office. Then about 4 years ago, DSS building and transportation was constructed. And we've been in our health department building now for 1 year.
Awesome. What would be the biggest goal? You said that you had been there for like 13 plus years.
Correct.
And you'll be 14, I think, the beginning of 2017.
Correct.
And so one of the things that I'm assuming you plan on being there till the next guy come in the election and vote you out or get you out. Are you accomplishing some of the goals you've got laid out or had laid out when you took the job almost 14 years ago to where you are today? Have you seen a huge difference? I mean, we know that you just bid, I don't know how many $1 million complex that was over there on the complex with the sheriff and the courthouse and all that. So the question would be, how has it changed in 14 years?
I think if you was to take a snapshot 14 years ago when I came in and take a snapshot now and compare those snapshots, there would be a tremendous amount of change. Facility-wise is number one change, and then employee-wise is a change. The types of services that we are providing now are different than what we provided in 14 years ago, and some of that is because of mandates that are coming down.
Right.
And then as far as what goals have we accomplished, or I have accomplished, or we as a county,
Sure.
they change every election, because when you have an election and then you have new board members come in, their goals for the county change. So then one of the big jobs as a county manager is to implement the goals of the board.
Right.
What direction does the board want to take the county in? And that's one of the biggest responsibilities I as a county manager have to do, is to implement the ordinances, rules, resolutions that they want us to go in.
Awesome. Well, let me ask you this, Paul. How can an individual person in Clay County make a difference in determining our future of Clay County?
I think the biggest way is to let us hear your voice. What do you want? What do you want the county to be?
And how do they go about letting you hear their voice, other than come knocking on your door?
Well, knocking on the door or calling or showing up at commissioner meetings.
Aha. That would be the thing to do, is to show up and let our voice be heard.
Correct.
Awesome. Well, I tell you what, you're doing an extreme job and exemplary. As a matter of fact, we want to thank you here at Extreme Carolina. We want to thank you, Mr. Leek, for coming today and sharing with us your time and talking with us. You're definitely one of the unsung heroes behind the scene that people don't know about. So we just want to say thank you, kudos, big time to you. And we here at Extreme Carolina are committed to our listeners. And as we prepare to sign off today, we want to let them know that we want to bring them leaders that are passionate and that are purpose-driven and making a difference. By listening to their stories, you have the opportunity to refuel, reconnect, and get inspired by unlocking the power of the people. I want to leave you with just a quick thought. And we just want everyone to live extreme, live full. And God bless, and we'll see everybody next week.